It's a peculiar thing getting older. I got old so fast. It seemed to me to happen overnight, you know? And even though I had many girlfriends in my life, because I've never been married, I still consider myself a single man, you know, on one side, but on the other side, I'm a married man many times over because of my carnality. There's no rule book of how to deal with that, except the one. Anyway, this is just a big riff. For me, it's a diary, a note-taking process. And in the same way, like this peculiar philosophical point of Jesus, Jesus, Yeshua, Yeshua, Emmanuel. Being fully God and fully man, right? And the way we think about God and the way we think about heaven and perfection. Perfection has to do with infinity. What if there isn't infinity? It works in calculus up to a certain decimal point. Because practically, there isn't infinity. There's a process, an infinite process up to a point of resolution. There's always a last digit. There's always a last significant digit in calculations. Always. Or, I'm sorry, I might be wrong. If you can prove me wrong, I will worship at your foot, at your feet. What I wanted to get to today, it's time to eliminate just this little idea that floats in the clouds of our minds that is incorrect. It's like a little virus. And isn't it funny, right? Because I've spent a lot of, well, not a lot of time, but I've spent some time on the idea that, like, lions are not going to save the world. Reintroducing wolves into the wild to reduce deer populations, it's effective, temporarily, but to my mind is incorrect eternally. Lions will not save the world. So, interestingly enough, you know, the Lion of Judah. Well, where's that idea come from? Well, it comes from Africa, India, all that. The route Thomas took. We spend a lot of time thinking about where Peter and Paul went. We don't spend a lot of time thinking about where Thomas went. Lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my. Fucking A right, man. I have a picture. I'll show it soon in a video. I have a picture from the Keene. I think it was from the Keene Sentinel. Of on the coast of New Hampshire. I live in New Hampshire, you know. New Hampshire, USA, bro. Ugh. I live in New Hampshire, and there was this picture in the Eagle Times about, 20 years ago, of I think it was a brown eagle. Brown eagles are the worst, man. Like, I'll be honest, I ain't got no love for the bald eagle. I ain't got no love for the bald eagle. They're killers and murderers. They kill their own kids, man. They watch their kids kill their own kids. They're fuckers, man. This whole shit about protecting eagles, fuck eagles, man. Protect the dove. I'm a house painter. And there are a few properties I drive upon. There's this one property in particular I drive upon. I've been going there for years. I've been a painter. I've been working for the same man. My boss is an awesome, awesome, awesome dude. My boss is so much a better person than me. But anyway, I've been working at this certain property for like 15 years, and it's a second home of this guy who lives down in Providence. And he's a pretty cool guy. He's a multi-millionaire, you know? But like, he's so nice to me and just chill and cool. I work for other multi-millionaires who ain't chill and cool. But anyway, ever since I've worked there, when I drive up that driveway, man, there's this one point, and it's a long driveway, it's like a road. And there are these mourning doves. And it's almost like every day that I drive up this road, and I've driven up this road hundreds of times. And at this one point where I'm a quarter mile into his driveway, quarter mile, third of a mile into his driveway, and I startle these mourning doves who are always there, like whenever I come in the driveway. And it's a couple, a man and a woman. And they're startled and they fly off. Away. This coupling. Doves of peace, man. That's one of the things that people don't realize about symbols in biota. I'm a symbol. You are a symbol. You're not just a symbol. You're not just a statistic. You're not just a biota. You're all of these things and many more things wrapped into one. More than the sum of your parts, as I am. Even me. Decrepit me. But anyway, yeah, man. We're spending all this time on trying to protect the eagles. Especially the bald eagles, because it's this symbol for America. Today, it will change. America will stay. Right? One of the conversations in the world today is like, how long will America last? United States of America, USA, you know. How long will it last? But the better question is, how will the symbols slip to better symbols? Save the eagles. Save the falcons. Save the sharks. Preserve the marriage of mourning doves. Now, I'm not married, but I'm also not a priest, and I'm also not a celibate. I've been celibate for a while now, but before that, I was a slut. Say it like it is. We're very concerned these days about observation. We're very concerned these days about cameras and like everything looking at us, and what do they call it? I'm having a brain fart. What do they call it? Cameras on us all the time. Because we're so concerned about them looking at us. But we are them and they are us. What if we, and this is the thing about like the idea, because we think about it technologically, but what if we were telepathic? What if we were magical? What if I had godlike powers? What if in the idea of the Eastern churches, I'm in the state of becoming God? Well, once I become God, I see everything. What if I could read your thoughts and I could see you looking at me saying, this guy's a fucking piece of shit? For most of my life, if I were to hear you say that telepathically, I would have been like, you motherfucker! You know? But having been softened to that notion, like, okay, you can hear what I'm thinking, right? You're a crusty old fucking bastard, and you can hear what I'm thinking. You're a beautiful woman, and I can hear what you're thinking, and you can hear what I'm thinking. What then? What power of forgiveness and charity and love would I have if I could hear your thoughts about me? And not only if you said bad things, but if you said good things. Some people quite like my beard. But when I was a college student, all those girls I was chasing when I was a young man, they wouldn't have liked this beard. My mom don't like this beard. And I very much appreciate that she had no reservations in telling me that. I'm not sure if I said it when I started. This is just a riff. I don't know where I'm going. there's a few swirling vortices in my mind. And something told me I had to get something out. It's kind of like when you gotta poop, but you can't, but you can feel that you gotta. For you younger people, you might not know what I mean. As you get older, it becomes more clear. It's like, God damn it, I gotta poop, but I can't. And then you do. Am I gonna poop once, twice, 3 times? Not really sure. But when you got a beard that looks like this, you come to figure it out a little bit. They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, I've went through an apple a day, I've went through a pepper a day, and I've also went through a cucumber a day. These days, it's a cucumber a day. Or actually half of in grocery stores these days, there's them long 18-inch cucumbers. You know. Half of one of those a day. Pooping like clockwork, baby. Just saying. It's like medicine, you know. This is just a riff. And up to this point, it's all been a preface. I'll try to figure out what I'm getting to next. Also, yeah. And this one's especially for the Catholic folk, some of the Protestant folk, but you know, cigarettes are looked down upon. Tobacco's tobacco, man. At least I'm smoking American Spirits. It's funny, God, I hate telling this story. Because it crushes my fucking heart, man. But I doubted. That's about what I was saying. I doubted. I dated. I had an intimate relationship with a woman who, for a time, was a cab driver. She did a lot of different shit, man. She had a tough fucking life. And I knew her when she was a kid, and then when she was adult. I shouldn't say I knew her when she was a kid. I knew her brother when she was a kid. And I saw her when she was a kid. Alright, I'm just gonna say it. I saw her pissing in a fucking 5-gallon bucket. I was in junior high. She was half my age. Her and her brother weren't allowed to use the bathroom. When they had to piss, they pissed in a 5-gallon bucket, right? So it's like crushing my heart right now when I'm thinking about it because of the way I thought about it back then. But then when I think actually rationally, it's actually only hard to think about because of the way we live now. But saving piss, like, I don't know what they did with that piss. I'm just thinking about it the way I saw it back then. I was a kid. I was hanging out with my buddy at his house. At his dad's house. Not his mom's house. At his dad's house. And I remember his little sister. Spindly little fucking legs. Squatting on a 5-gallon bucket. And I remember thinking like, man, that girl's got little fucking legs. And then she just sat down on a bucket and started pissing. I was like, what the fuck? I was like 13. Later on, that girl was one of my... I've had a lot of girlfriends in my life. Later on in life. Yeah. 20 years later. Yeah. I saw her when I was 13. And on my 33rd birthday, she bought me a dinner. because she was my woman. But I remember she was pissing in a bucket, and I was like, what the fuck? But sometimes you see shit, and it so strikes you, and it's so, like, quote-unquote horrifying, that you kind of wipe it from your mind and from your heart, you know? But I remember I was grossed out for two reasons. I was grossed out because, like, growing up in America, in the 20th century, seeing someone piss in a bucket, you know, but at the same time, it's like, that's not a big deal. Like, in reality, in the world, as an animal with a beating heart, pissing in a bucket is still, like, luxury. Compared to chipmunks, compared to cows, compared to pigs. But I remember the way she was looking at us, and she had no shame. And when I met her later in life, she also had no shame. Very beautiful woman. She's a nurse now. I think she's going to be married. She was my girlfriend for several years. Really, really awesome person. Just didn't work out. I've had awesome girlfriends, man. And pretty much all of them married with children. And by all estimations, have good families or good mothers, have good husbands. And they're better than me. And their husbands are better than me. And their children will grow up to be better than me. Thank God. Thank God. I'm way off point. What I wanted to... God, what the fuck did I want to talk about today? This is what I want to talk about today, so non sequitur, we're going to shift a little bit, but it's still pertinent. The idea, I just want to kill an idea, right? There's one thing, right? Back when, the only libertarian, I'm a liberal, right? And it's funny, liberal, libertarian. Liberal, libertarian. Years back, I'd read about the concept of, what's it called? Progressive libertarianism. It's like the idea of progressive libertarianism is like, so far as I understood it, when I read about it, I can't even remember exactly where I read about it, but is like, keep your hands off how I do me, but in so much as I contribute to society, use what I contribute to society to help everyone, especially the less privileged. And that has to do with like the 100% death tax. If every person in society was taken care of by the state and nothing was passed along to children, like you could have all the money you want in your life, but you can't pass it to your kids. Again, this is just a jam out. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow. It's related to the idea of Star Trek, where there's no money. People just do shit. And the best people do the right shit. So, whatever you make in your life is yours. And you can do as much with you can do whatever you want with it in your whole life. You're never taxed in your whole life. All the money you make, everything you accumulate, you can do. Now imagine if you accumulated like $100 trillion and when you died you didn't have a penny left to give to the state. Or imagine if you lived and you accumulated $100 trillion and you didn't do shit with it. And when you died, it all went to the state. Now, while you're living, if you're doing the shit with your money, because money's just money, right? With electricity, with one of the things I'm obsessed with is the idea, look this up. If you get one thing out of this video, remember this one word, step leader. Step leader. Step leader. Step leader. Step leader. Lightning strike. Because lightning comes up from the ground and lightning also comes down from the sky. The lightning that comes down from the sky creates step leaders. What happens is the lightning comes most of the way down, and then when it's near the ground, it starts shooting off these little shoots. They're about 50 yards. It happens in a fraction of a second. But there's these countless little things, like lightning goes, and then it stops and it goes, calculates. At that same point, charges start rising up from the ground. The charges that are rising up from the ground are being calculated by that step leader. That's free will. You know, when you feel that electricity within yourself, that's the step leader. When you've spent an hour, a day, a week on an idea, and it's coming, it's building to a point, and all you feel it in yourself, like I gotta do something. That's what happened today before I pressed record. I was step leadering, I wouldn't say all day, but I was step leadering for about 4 hours before I knew something was coming. Right? That bolt was coming down. Right? And then that step leader. That step leader. 50-yard bolts out of the end of a lightning bolt before it touched down to the ground. All these pieces of the ground, all these charges from the ground in little blooms, in little bulbs were reaching up from the ground. Any one of them, theoretically, could have been the discharge of that step leader. But only 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 100 make it. Right? Because not every time the lightning hits the ground, it's just like one point. It's like many. but many are left behind, right? That's just the way it works, right? So far as we know today, there might come a day where every bulb, when every luminescent bulb raising from the ground reaches every step leader. Now, wouldn't that be something? But anyway, step leaders, to my mind, represent free will, limited free will, which is still essentially like an infinite process. Like, if you have infinite choices or if you have 3 choices, what's the difference? Right? And this is one of those things about infinity and about Z. The Norman J. Wildbergian concept of the Z. Z might as well be infinite. Right? If you have more shit in front of you than you can do with, what's the difference between that and infinity? If you have infinite choices or if you have 2 choices, what's the difference? You can only choose one. What I wanted to get to today was about animals, man. So all of that is just a long curling preface to this one single point. And normally you'd think about the preface as the blood, baby. Normally you'd think about the preface as like the little thing that comes before the big thing. But what if the preface is the big thing before the little thing? So I guess because I'm getting tired, maybe that's the way I'm going to make it. What's happening today is the onset of killing. Like, yeah, Ron Paul said, like, to kill an idea is almost impossible. I can't remember how it all worked out. Like, so I thought I was a libertarian for a while. I thought I was into Rand Paul because I was into Ron Paul. As it turns out, I was mostly kind of into Ron Paul for 2 reasons. Because of the way he talked about tolerance, because the way Ron Paul, the libertarian, talked about tolerance reminded me of the way that Cornel West talked about tolerance. That's why I'm into those 2 dudes. Because of the way they talked about tolerance. Some of the other shit I can be like, I'm not into that. But so passionately did Ron Paul talk about tolerance. And tolerance is sutured with forgiveness. Which is sutured with truth and reconciliation. We focus on the justice system. Justice! But the ultimate justice system is truth and reconciliation, which is confession and forgiveness. And in some sense, right, this is so fucking weird. I'm essentially a drunk. Yet, when Sober October comes, for the last couple years, right, and I've had ailments, it's weird, man. Right before Sober October comes, I get these weird ailments, and I've documented them. So when Sober October comes, I can drop booze and weed like that. And I make it a ways into November, and then that's it. But it's just kind of weird. It's magic. I learned about Sober October from Joe Rogan. And it's just that little clinging thing in my mind that for months and months would be like Sober October, Sober October, Sober October, Sober October. So even though I'm a total fuck, when Sober October comes, it's on. And I can be sober for a while. I'll go into more of that at some other time. I've talked about it before. Where was I getting to? Where was I getting to? Where was I getting to? Sorry for the non sequiturs. I'm jamming out. Animals. Jesus was fully God and fully human. That's weird. We, as humans, are fully human and fully animal. So one of the ways that we can come to know Jesus, Jeebus, it's like, well, he was fully God and fully human. How does that work? Well, one of the ways we can come to understand that is that we are fully human and fully animal. And there is a split, but there's a Vesica Pisces overlap, spherical. And that's a neat metaphor for being fully God and fully human. But also, we're not just fully human and fully animal. Fully God, fully animal. The divine spark, right? Boing. Fully God, fully human. The divine spark. That we possess divinity within us. So, one of the ways we talk about animals is that they don't understand mortality. That is the idea. Thank you, Ron Paul. To kill an idea is difficult. Today, I'm not saying I'm killing the idea, but like David, I'm coming up with my slingshot. Right? Now, I might be a false Messiah, or I might be a false David in that respect. Fine. So my prayer is that in saying this, I might not kill that idea today, but I might be speaking to the one who does. I might not be David. In a sense, was it Samuel who essentially anointed David, sanctified David, called out David, chose David, whatever? Son of Jesse, you know. So I might not be David. I might not be killing this idea. I might not be killing this Goliath today. But maybe. Right. And maybe not. But maybe I'm the one who's speaking to the David that will kill this idea. And the idea that is being killed either today or tomorrow from either me or you or the one you speak to in this train of consequences in this chain of consequences that animals don't understand the concept of death. That is opposite the truth. It's not only not true, it's not only like a little bit off, it's the absolute fucking opposite of truth. That's why animals are fucking killers, man. Anything that isn't us or our domesticated animals, right? I'm watching videos the other day of kittens playing with ducklings. There's kittens playing with ducklings. Ducklings falling around this kitten like it's their mother. This kitten playing with ducklings. It's outside of everything else that happens in the cosmos, right? And we think it's a reaction between, like, okay, we put ducklings and kittens together, and we think it has something to do with ducklings and kittens. Ducklings and kittens is like a quarter. Not even a quarter, an eighth of the actual situation. 7/8 of the situation is human love. Cosmologically, man. In that cold fucking universe that we look out through the telescopes, you know. It's just like cold mathematics. Pressures, gravities. And inside of this ozone, that's what happens outside. Outside of the ozone layer of this earth, it's just cold mechanics, baby. Pressures. Pressures and gravities. Inside this ozone, eat, take. Either way, inside this ozone layer of the earth, outside of the ozone layer of the earth, outside of the old ozone layer of the earth, cold mechanics, so to speak. Inside the ozone layer of the earth, cold hunger. 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 Eat. The only thing in the universe, in the cosmos, the only thing in this mind-boggling spectrum of existence, in this mind-numbing scale of life, existence, in all parameters of measurement, the only thing that protects as a species, like, is us, like, more or less human beings. On a grand scale, no. But then there's the kittens and the ducklings. Now they're learning because they're domesticated by us. There are exceptions to the rule. Like in the wild, sometimes these kinds of things happen. But as an organized structure, like we are that love. So the idea that animals don't think about death. I've talked about these two things before, but I'll mention them again. There's this YouTube channel, I think it's called Choo Choo's Story, something like that. It's about chipmunks. I don't know if the people live in the US or if they live in Korea. I feel like they live in the US and maybe it's like a couple. I believe it's a couple. Like a man and a woman. I believe one of them is maybe like Korean. But I could have that wrong. But anyway, Choo Choo's Story. And I think that's what it's called. I'll update this if that's incorrect. I'll make a comment. But there's this one video out of that channel about a chipmunk. And it's something like Choo Choo, or I can't remember. There's several different chipmunks that are named, but something like so-and-so, Choo Choo can't stop crying, or I can't remember the specific chipmunk's name, but we attribute a lot of things to instinct in animals that is actually taught. So there's this mother chipmunk. She's coming out of the ground. She's coming out of her den, out of her hole in the ground. And she's sniffing and she's crying. And chipmunk cries, so chipmunks more or less hibernate in the winter, you know. But in the spring, summer, fall, when you hear that toop, 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 boop, 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 that's a chipmunk's crying, which is the equivalent, right? Think of Alvin and the Chipmunks, right? It's a higher pitch. So when you hear the chipmunks going, poop, 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 it's the equivalent of a human being. That's what the chipmunk's doing. And in that particular video, you can see it up close. It was such a fucking revelation to me. Now her children are down below, which you come to find out later. But then all of a sudden, one moment, it's the same thing with you, it's the same thing with me. In the morning with me, when I'm like, I don't want to go. Am I going to call in today? I don't want to go out in the world today. Am I going to call in today? I don't want to go out in the world today. Everybody's going to try to kill me, beat me up, be mean to me, dominate me, right? But that's just like a psychological thing for the most part, for me. Not for all humans, but for me. But for a chipmunk, it's real. Imagine being a chipmunk, right? Cats. Imagine something the size of a tractor trailer that can move just as fast as you, that wants to kill you. Imagine if tractor trailers weren't just on the road, but that was built just like you, right? And wanted straight out to fucking kill you. Or a dog. Something the size of a shopping mall compared to you. If you're a chipmunk, a dog is about the size of a strip mall. Imagine if a strip mall was just as fast as you, and as soon as you drove up to it, instead of going inside and buying some nice things, it hunched up on its legs and fucking chased you. You're a goner. But anyway, in that moment of that video, Choo Choo story. Imagine every time you opened your front door, something the size of a dump truck, as spry as you, if not more spry, was waiting there with claws to take you down and fangs to fucking eat you. Anyway, you can see that fear of death in that video when that chipmunk's sticking its head up above the hole. And you can see that moment when it was like, I'm not a child anymore. I gotta go. And it just fucking comes out. Just like we do. Just like I do every morning. When I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I have to face the day. I have to face the day. And I just want to curl up in my mother's and my grandmother's breasts from back when I was a boy. Every fucking day. And it's weird, man. The last several years, it actually takes me longer. Maybe because I'm softening. Like, it actually takes me longer to say to myself, those days are over. When I was younger, it would only take me 4 or 5 minutes to tell myself, those days are over, bro, you gotta go. But these days, it takes me 45 minutes. I press snooze, snooze, snooze on my alarm, on my phone. Snooze, 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 snooze. Animals are aware of death. So that's really, it's a pretty simple little thing. That's what this whole video is about. Stop saying animals aren't aware of death, and that's what makes us human. What makes us human is more than that. But that's a large part of what makes us human. That's a big part of what informs our humanity. But what makes us human is our capacity to actually do shit about it. That chipmunk understands death like we do. But that chipmunk has no capacity to do anything about it. We do. That's why dogs love fucking people, man. Because without us, they're fucked. They want to be more human. They want to be loved. And that also goes for predators. Like, dogs don't have to eat meat. Cats have to eat meat today. That might change. It changed for the flying fox bat. The flying fox, this is another funny thing. We think of vegetarians as frail things. Right? Elephants are vegetarian, more or less. Right? Flying fox bat is the biggest bat in the world. Some of them are as big as some people. And they only eat fruit. So, in that sense, they're the gentlest bat, and they're the biggest and most scary. All right, there's another thing I wanted to get to. I'm going to get to it. And then I also wanted to talk about this other Yeah, there's this other video on the interweb, and I've talked about it before, but it's important, of where this hawk comes down, like from a tree. There's this rabbit in the grass, and this hawk comes down onto the rabbit, and a deer circles around, stomps on the hawk. The rabbit runs away. The deer just keeps stomping on this fucking hawk. Another deer comes up and is like, "What's up? What are you fucking doing?" The deer that's stomping the hawk to death chases away that other deer. It's like, "I'm busy, bitch." So it's not every deer, but there was this one deer that saw killing and said, "No fucking way." So in some sense, that's an enchanted deer. Same with people. Because this other deer's coming up saying like, "This is the way it is. What are you doing? Why are you freaking out?" And this deer's like, "Not on my fucking watch, man." That deer wasn't just... First of all, that deer knew death. That deer wasn't just opposed to its own death. That deer was philosophically opposed to the concept of killing. Killing. Death, murder, eating flesh. That deer was a better person than a lot of people. Just saying. Better than me. So I ain't calling you out. I'm calling me out. I'm not claiming I'm going to heaven, man. I'm pretty damn sure I'm going to hell. And when I get there, when I go to hell, I'm going to start whispering. And after I start whispering, I'll start talking. And after I start talking, I'll start singing. And after I start singing, I'll start yelling. Waiting for the day. It's a weird thing to talk about. A day in hell. Hell ain't eternal, but it's atemporal. And for most of us who live in temporality, hell would seem eternal, but it's not. It's just atemporal, but not 100% atemporal. A new heaven, a new earth. What do you think that means? Well, a new heaven. Wait, isn't heaven eternal? Wait, isn't God eternal? Wait, isn't God perfect? Well, Jesus grew in, what is it, knowledge and wisdom. But then it's the Trinity, the Father and the Son. He grew, well, he grew in time, well, but eternity's eternal? Perfection? Well, does eternity evolve? The spiritual realm? The war in heavenly realms? Well, there's a war in heavenly realms. Where's heaven? Heaven's in heavenly realms. A new heaven, a new earth. A new heaven, a new earth. A new heaven, a new earth. So you want to go to heaven? Well, which heaven? Which heaven do you want to go to? Do you want to go to the heaven that is now? Or do you want to go to the new heaven and the new earth? How's that go? Something to think about. Well, it's not just something to think about. It's the real fucking deal, man. Animals know more about death than we do. We have to stop distinguishing ourselves from animals in that sense. We are distinguished from other animals, but not in that way. It's one of those funny things, man, where, like, we're correct. We are distinguished from animals. The next best animal to a human being is the greatest thing in the universe that we've ever found. So we go out into the stars, or we, whatever. We're looking for this great knowledge, great knowledge, great knowledge, great knowledge, great knowledge. Meanwhile, bonobos and chimpanzees, besides us, is the greatest thing in the fucking universe. Or that's one way of looking at it. I actually don't look at it that way. Because there's a bazillion kinds of bees and wasps. Some sting, some don't. Some are predators, some are vegetarians. Same with all kinds of animals, all kinds of plants for that matter. There are beings in this world of every kind of genus and species that are killers, and then there are those who are simpatico with the overall environment. Fruit-eating vertebrates. Whether they're a lizard or whether they're a sloth or whatever. I guess I'm fading off now. Hopefully I delivered my message for today. But at the very least, hopefully I jammed out enough to preserve for at least myself, and by the grace of God, you know, some notion of the idea that in some sense, I'm not saying, I've declared war on this idea long ago, quietly. Hopefully it builds momentum over time. The idea that animals aren't aware of death is the stupidest fucking idea ever. I am less aware of death than every single animal, insect, plant, anything that I've ever come in contact with, that I've ever seen, or that has ever existed. Everything else actually has a way better idea of the concept of death. So when we say that animals don't have a concept of death, that is absolutely wrong, backwards, inverted, opposite, mirrored, incorrect. what animals, plants, insects, fungi, whatever. Well, I shouldn't say this, but the way we could turn this idea, maybe we don't need to kill this idea, maybe we just need to turn it around, is that maybe some of these beings don't have a concept of the fullness of cooperative life. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. It'll become a trope. We need to model what I call, simply, it's like eating, digestion, pooping. The digestive system. We need to model the digestive system after the respiratory system. The respiratory system on the earth works really, really well. Really, really well. It's a fucking miracle, man. Plants breathe out. What they breathe out, we breathe in. What we breathe out, they breathe in. That's fucking perfection, man. Life of the Spirit is in the breath. Why do you suppose that is? The Holy Spirit, man. Why do you suppose that is? This perfect reciprocity. We human beings are the only thing in the entire fucking universe, in the mind-numbing billions and billions and the light years and the this and that. Fine, great. Oh, and then we feel so small. We're so insignificant. We're so insignificant. We are the only thing in all of those billions and that we know of that can turn this. It's one of the fundamentals of life. Eat, 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 eat. Right? Fuck the ocean. Right? Joe Rogan said that the other day. Right? But I sympathize, man. The ocean is hell. No doubt. The ocean is a synopsis of hell. You want to know what hell's like? Just mouths. I eat you, you eat me. When you die, I'll eat you. When you die, I eat me. Whether I kill you or not, right? Vultures. What's worse, vultures or eagles? Well, eagles will come down and get you if they can get you. But a vulture, no matter how big you are, they'll scare you to death. While you're looking up above, you'll trip and fall, and then they'll come down and get you. Vultures and eagles, man, they're working for the same team, and it ain't our team. Get that right fucking now, man. Hammerhead sharks, man. Stop trying to save the sharks. Stop it. Save the goldfish, man.